what I like to do is give it just like a little knead, maybe like 3 or 4 times.
I'm not quite doing it the way you are. I'm Gabriel Ornelas. So nice to meet you. Join me as we explore Northern California. I could spend the rest of my life discovering California. So Sacramento is a place that I know it's so rich in history. It's so rich in culture. There's a strong agricultural community. Some of the most incredible agricultural products are coming from this region. But I feel like I've been a bit disconnected, from it. And so being able to reconnect after so long and meet with some of these incredible community members is going to be super, super fun. Dane.
What's up, man? How are you?
What's up, man? How are you?
Good.
Good to see you.
Doing?
So I know you're a native here, so
yeah.
It's also, you're an ambassador, you're a spokesperson for this region, and what little bits of knowledge can we give to spark interest and excitement and enthusiasm about coming and exploring this beautiful region?
Yeah, I mean, I think the thing with Sacramento, like for us chefs at least, is that a lot of us left, and you leave and you realize that what you have back home is just amazing. The agriculture, the people, the culture itself, the agriculture, the food, the fruits, the vegetables, everything you kind of grow up with, taking advantage of, and then you kind of go elsewhere, and you kind of miss that stuff. And then so a lot of us left, and then we kind of came back and converged back on the city, and that's kind of what makes this food scene great here. And so, you started seeing all these restaurants kind of pop up in the, great restaurants pop up in the mid, like early 2000s. You started seeing people come back and start popping up restaurants that had left, and the food scene started becoming really competitive, and just made really good food happen here.
Sometimes we have to leave to appreciate how good we have it in the beginning. Yeah,
totally. And I think when I left, I was like, never coming back. I went to culinary school in New York, and I was like, next stop, I wanted to go overseas, and I was just, I don't think this was ever the plan, but.
Did you ever go overseas?
I never
did that. You never did it.
Never did.
There's still time.
There's still time. I don't know if my wife and kids would love that.
Yeah,
but,
well, we got to get her on board.
Yeah, we got to get her on board. But, I wound up in Napa, and then, obviously it has a great food scene and dining scene, and then came back here and the plan, just to trying to get my bearings straight to see where I was going to go next. And I ended up working for a group that had just moved up here from the Bay Area. They were doing Michelin level food, and they just realized they couldn't afford to do the kind of restaurant they wanted to do in the Bay Area. And they came up here, and they were just doing very high level food, and I fell in love with what they were doing, and I ended up being with that group forever. And there's just a lot of restaurants just doing that here. And, it's cool to see.
There's such a bounty in this area, in this part of the state. I've heard you say, we don't have boundaries. We cook with heart and what's seasonally and locally available.
Yeah, I mean, so we're deep in winter time, so everything kind of lays dormant. I mean, as opposed to the rest of the country, we don't really get snow here, so we are in root vegetable season, but citrus just started really going strong, and right around the corner is spring, and obviously as a chef, spring is the best time to cook.
You're gonna time to show off.
Yeah, all the green garlic, which is just starting to show. Spring onions are just starting to show. And we're just in February. And then all the English peas and the fava beans and all that stuff that the rest of the country kind of sees. But we're pretty fortunate, and so. Part of the thing that makes this restaurant special is, you kind of touched on it, is that there are no boundaries. We do what we want, and the food is just whatever is fulfilling our soul at that moment in time. We cook. We never fall in love with anything here. A lot of restaurants have signature dishes or whatever it may be, and that's great. But my thought process is that we never create a signature dish. It's that when it's time for something to go, because it's falling out of season, it goes. And so even if it's selling like crazy, we just take it off the menu,
Yeah.
and we move on to the next item.
Yeah.
You'll never see something repeated. It just goes. And so I think that's kind of our ethos. But at the core of it all, you see techniques being repeated, and you see that thought process, things that are close to our heart, like kind of being repeated. So pasta work is something that like we love.
Yeah.
And so like things like gnocchi or handmade pasta is something that is like always on the menu. You see crudos always on the menu. You see, just the framework is always kind of the same. We play within that framework, but we change it up based off of the seasonality and the dishes and whatever is kind of getting creative. So you may see some Asian food, Asian influenced food, because California is a giant melting pot with a lot of Asian influence, and I have some Asian heritage in me. I'm part Indonesian, but I think so that plays close to my heart. Growing up with Indonesian food every Sunday, you grow up with a lot of Mexican food being in California. Of
course.
And so you'll sometimes see like some aguachiles at the menu, or like a play on mole. It just depends. And we obviously do it in elevated manners, but
Sure.
just the sky's the limit.
No boundaries. Truly no boundaries.
Truly
which
no
is a beautiful place to be in. Especially this is such a melting pot. Of Mexican cultures, Asian cultures. I've been talking to farmers and other chefs. They said some of the best sushi rice is grown in this region.
Yeah.
As well. And so there's just such a bounty and plethora of opportunities.
Our sushi rice is shipped across the world.
Yeah.
It really is the best sushi rice in the world, and people revere it. And it's really interesting as you drive through. You'll be leaving a suburb here, and then you'll hit just sushi. You'll hit rice fields, and it's really interesting to see that, like just dead stop of the suburbs, and then it's rice fields, and people just live like that here, and it's kind of cool. And people don't even think about it out here; they're just driving through, and unless you really take time to understand what it is, like I think people just take advantage of it.
If you were planning a trip for a friend from out of town, where would you say you have to do this, and this?
Yeah, I mean, I think if it was like I think if it's like a food tour, you like hit Tomasi Bay and you get some oysters, and I know Point Reyes is on your guys' agenda, but you go to Point Reyes and you check out some cheese making. Napa Valley, obviously, I lived up in Santa Elena, and
it's so nice up there.
yeah, I mean, you feel like you're in the south of France, man. And it's, when you live there, you get lost. You just got to go make this big loop of just like hitting the coast and then working your way back through Napa, drink some wine, and then make your way back here and hit some of the great restaurants in Sacramento. It'd be like the perfect day.
Yeah, it's an absolute playground.
Yeah.
But I always say, like, without local knowledge, there's almost, where do you start?
Yeah.
Where do you begin?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's being a Sacramento native, I always feel like, especially a guy that like moved to the East Coast, I always feel like there was always like this emphasis on Southern California, especially when you moved out there. Everyone thinks, when they think California, they think LA, they think San Diego, they think that culture. Sure. But being a guy that's from Northern California, Sacramento, we have our own culture up here. We have our own food, our own identity, our own thought process, and it's way different.
Yeah.
And the food scene's way different. It's way more unique, like, to us, and
sure.
It's something we're proud of up here, just as much as they're proud of their culture down there.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't think it's a competition at
No,
all.
no.
I think we need the diversity.
Yeah,
we don't want everything to be in like Southern California, don't want everything to be up here, but that's also what makes this state so beautiful, is how diverse it is, how big it is,
of course,
how incredibly vast it is.
Yeah, there's just so much to offer, and it's cool. You can be in Southern California, and you can get some Mexican food down there and think that forms your idea of what Mexican food is, and then you can be up here and get some Mexican food, and it's completely different.
Yeah.
And that's amazing. I love that.
I was speaking with a journalist who said there are, and this is specifically, we were talking about southern Mexico and Oaxaca.
Yeah.
And he was saying that there's some of these small towns only have 2,000, 3,000 people, but he's saying over several generations, specifically in Los Angeles, there are more people in LA from some of these towns now than living in those towns.
No kidding.
So there might be 1,500 to 2,000 people in that town, but now over several generations, there's 4,000 people in LA that are making up this small province or small region of Oaxaca, which again changes the cultural fabric, changes the cultural landscape, which is in a beautiful way.
And that's crazy. Yeah, and they also may be taking ingredients that they can find in LA.
Exactly.
And throwing it into, they maybe can't get some stuff and they just take what they can find in LA and throw it into their food. And then it becomes
something new.
That's Southern California style Mexican food.
Exactly.
Which is awesome,
Exactly.
And, something we all love. But, I think that's what makes this state unique and great. But, to bring it full circle, like I just think that, up here, it's just, we have the oysters and we have the wine and we have the cheese and we have the great restaurants, and it's just like it is. And we have and it's special, It's very special.
How's the gnocchi going?
They're probably ready. The potatoes are probably ready. With gnocchi, you kind of want to do while it's hot. Mm-hmm. We don't boil the potato. Because the idea is that you remove as much moisture as possible.
Mm-hmm. And why is temperature important?
Because it helps steam the flour, which then helps create the dough.
My hands might not be as equipped
No.
as yours.
No.
That's like my mother can put on hot water and wash dishes, and then I go and I'm like, how are your hands underneath that water?
Sometimes I hand my kids stuff.
Yeah.
And they're like, ah! And you're like, oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, you're like, Dad doesn't have feeling in his hands anymore.
You just forget.
They've been desensitized.
Yeah. Well, I've been in the kitchen since I was a kid, right?
Yeah.
So. Give that one to you.
This one's me?
That one's you.
Okay, nice.
So what you're going to do.
Flour the board.
Flour your board, flour the dough.
Yep.
What I like to do is give it just like a little knead, maybe like 3 or 4 times.
I'm not quite doing it the way you are, but
you're fine. You just want to push the dough together a little bit, and then kind of like you were playing with Play-Doh when you were a kid.
Yeah.
Kind of just start shaping it into a log. The idea is to not overwork it. That's how you wind up with bricks. No one likes a heavy gnocchi.
We don't like a brick gnocchi.
Yeah, no one wants a heavy gnocchi.
Okay, so I'm rolling it out like that.
Yeah, and so if it starts pulling apart,
breaking a little bit?
Yeah, you can just squeeze it right back together.
Okay.
Like I said, it's kind of like Play-Doh, and it's all about touch. If you notice, my fingers are kind of apart.
Yeah. Am I gonna add a little bit more flour here?
You can put a little more pressure on it.
Okay.
So as you're doing this, you just see how I'm kind of just pulling it out like this. I know it kind of feels like you're like squishing it a little bit.
Yeah.
But it is a dough.
I think we're running out of real estate over here.
Yeah, we can move it. You see how they're never perfect, but they're not supposed to be. You know, it's supposed to be. It's a handmade pasta. It's a craft.
Was this in school that you learned, or where did you really kind of learn to make?
This was
handmade pastas?
The restaurant I started working at after Terra called Hawks in Granite Bay, which is the suburb of Sacramento. We did a lot of pasta work there, and I kind of fell in love with pasta.
Fell in love with it, yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
and
who doesn't?
Yeah,
pasta.
And post Terra, Terra was about Asian and French and Italian, but Hawks was about seasonality and Sacramento's bounty, and once I did that, my stint at Hawks, I fell in love with pasta, and then my cooking kind of became a cross of Hawks and Terra, I guess, a little bit. And so, we're hyper seasonal, but there's a lot of Asian influence in what we do, and we're coming up on springtime here, and
so in the household growing up, Indonesian food was being. Okay, and is it on your mom's side or your dad's side?
My dad was born in Indonesia. Okay. We're Dutch Indonesian.
Okay. And what would he cook?
He wouldn't cook. My grandma would cook.
Okay, your grandma.
Yeah, my dad was not a great cook. But my grandma would make nasi goreng and bami goreng, which is like rice and noodle dishes.
Yeah. Just so good.
Yeah, so good and soulful, and just, it was like every Sunday just getting the family together, and it's those kinds of things that help form your idea of like what food
is.
Food is,
yeah, absolutely.
And,
what did he think about when you wanted to get into this profession? What were his thoughts?
Typical chef story, it's typical, like kind of failing out of school, not a great student. My dad was great. My dad was a huge supporter. He was like, school's not for everybody.
Wow. Pretty progressive.
Yeah.
Especially at that time.
But he's like, but if you don't want to go to school, you
better do something.
You're getting a job. He's like, what do you want to do? And I was like, I kind of like cooking. And he's like, great, we're going to start cooking. And he helped me, helped steer me in that direction. And, that's when I wound up with Fats. Then
very cool.
That family was transformative because they basically were like, to work for us, you got to maintain a certain grade average. So it took a student that was not a great student to a good student, or not a good student, an okay student that needed to maintain certain grades to continue to work because I like money. And and so that was it. But my dad was super supportive of it, and I think it was that thing that.
What does he think now that you've accomplished all the things you've accomplished? And
my dad's no longer with us, but
okay, I'm sorry about that.
It's fine. He's he was super proud, and I think he I think at the end of the day he he just wanted to make sure that we could fend for ourselves, being first generation. Like, I think it wasn't about what you did, it was about like how much work you wanted to put into what you did.
Sure.
And like it's just like, how hard do you want to work? It doesn't matter what you want to do. Just grind at it and be the best you can be. So if you want to be a chef, just
do it.
Yeah,
if you're gonna do it,
go all in.
Yeah.
And I think that mentality is, to be a chef, like, you need that mentality anyways. So it really helped. It's a lot of sacrifice.
No, especially in this. And being, how old are your kids?
8 and 5.
Ooh, still have a young family.
Yeah.
In this job.
Yeah, great. I'm grateful. Like, I've
good partner.
I have the best chef wife you could possibly imagine. And
there you go.
She never complains, and she takes on a lot, and I think that's crucial because it's taxing on her.
Absolutely. Well, it's like you need to have a good support system in the restaurant and outside of the restaurant.
Yeah, but it's long hours, but at the end of the day, I always tell people I wouldn't trade it for anything, and I think it's something that I love, and being where I'm at, like, I just get to make whatever I want to do, whatever I want to make, and like, the food is just a total expression of me.
Yeah.
And so it's a beautiful thing.
Did you have any other creative outlets growing up, or was this like you kind of found your voice?
I think from a pretty young age, I knew I wanted to be a cook, but like I don't think it was ever thought of as like this professional.
Yeah.
I would stand by my grandma's side and kind of learn how to make Indonesian food with her, and I think that.
Have you dove into like really an exploration of Indonesian food?
I haven't, and
oh man, we got to do that.
I would love to do.
We got to do that,
dude.
Come on.
It is so on my bucket list to go over there.
Next time I come back, we need to.
Yeah.
There needs to be a couple more recipes in the repertoire.
I know, seriously. It's on my bucket list to go over there and really like delve in and just like, really just make the most of it. You know.
Oh, this has gotten a little
soft.
I'm not hired.
You're good. No, you did pretty good. It's like such a feel thing.
It is. It's a feel. But I could see you can get the hang of it though after really some reps. You got to put some reps in.
Yeah, it's like I've probably made this, probably 10,000 times. It's like not an exaggeration.
Yeah. It's muscle memory at this point.
It's muscle memory.
What is your hope for someone coming from outside the state or the country, what would you want them to say about their experience in Sacramento or this region?
I think a lot of people are just shocked in general, just like what it is, like what we have to offer, and what the food-wise, agriculturally. I think it's just, a plethora of everything, top-down restaurants to food, to great produce to just
beautiful landscapes, to hikes,
great wine. Yeah, it's just all the things. And so,
everything.
I think when people come to visit, what you hear most is people are just like, I didn't know this existed.
Yeah.
And like, that's awesome, man. And I'm just a huge proponent of like, just pimping my own state out.
Yeah.
And just being proud of where we're from.
I almost love when people come to visit because it allows me to rediscover a lot of the beauty that is available.
Totally.
Because in our day-to-day lives, we don't always have the opportunity to do that.
Yeah.
But when someone comes and visits, like, oh, I gotta take you here, or we have to go do this.
Yeah, you forget about it. You maybe visited something when you were a kid, or you went to the Redwoods, or you're like, man, I haven't been back here in forever. You go up to Santa Cruz, and you're like, oh, I haven't been here in so long.
Yeah.
Like now I'm taking my kids to all those spots, and you're like, it's amazing. And it's funny, we talk about caviar, and I was literally at a restaurant up in Auburn. My 8-year-old's like crushing caviar, and it's like sounds bougie, but like it's cool, man. It's cool. Like
also for you to share this passion with your kids, as well, and for them to have a level of appreciation for not only what you do, but also the ingredients that you work with and everything. That's very cool.
Yeah, but I think like totally, I agree. But I think like caviar and stuff, it's like it's obtainable here.
Yeah.
It is expensive, but it's not like astronomically expensive to the point where it's like not, it's not obtainable. It's not gonna, bankrupt you. Trying to like pay for it. And
I think so much in life, there's predispositions that we immediately put ourselves in a box and go, well, that's not for me.
Yeah.
Or no, I'm not ready to experience that. Or when I'm here, I'll experience that.
Yeah.
And it's like, a lot of that gets debunked.
Yeah.
After a while. Like, no, I can do that now.
Yeah, totally. And like, why wouldn't you have your kid experience that, or whatever? Like, it's all about life experiences.
Absolutely.
And that's something now she'll set the bar high, and whoever she dates later, like, they're gonna have to meet that bar, but
they're gonna have to bring it.
Yeah, for sure.
Bring the culture.
Yeah, but now she'll know, she'll know how to like what she likes and what she wants, and but people are gonna come to visit her someday, and she's gonna be like, I'm gonna show you this caviar, and I'm gonna take you there.
That's
and
very
do
cool.
That. Yeah.
All right, I'm gonna wash my hands.
Wash your hands,
yeah.